Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Tea with ALSA. Today we have a special guest. His name is Granit Doshlaku, who has started his own SEO agency called Manaferra, and he's been doing it for the last 8 years. And before that, he was studying in Kosovo. Granit, how are you?
Thanks for having me. Doing great. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here and talk to you, man.
Perfect. Now, just like for people listening, we've actually been in conversation before. We've had like some great discussion points regarding service-based industries, but also the startup ecosystems within Kosovo and Albania. And I kind of wanted to bring that on recording for people to listen as someone yourself. But I guess before we kind of jump into that, I think what's always great is you have done this from your home country in Kosovo. You studied there, you started up your own company there, which I think is amazing. So before you got to starting up your own company, tell us about the studying part to then making you want to start up your own company, because that's not an easy feat. You don't just all of a sudden go, you know what, I want to do this thing by myself, which is highly risky and I won't know if I'm going to make any money.
Definitely.
So tell us about what made you want to do that, how you got to that point. It'll be great to hear.
I mean, I think we live in the best time ever. Growing up at the 6th grade, my friends were playing games. I was building websites. I am not a developer. I was doing all these drag and drops. Like there used to be a website called pizza.com, and you could build websites over there. It's like today's version of Squarespace, and it felt like magic to me, building something that everyone can see from all around the world, and you can like share something and write something or post some images in there. And this was even before Facebook was mainstream, and you had the newsfeed, and you had and social media was mainstream. So that kind of brought me to the webosphere. I consider myself a web enthusiast. I love everything that happens on the web and how the web has developed and still continues to develop nowadays. Finished elementary school, started high school, still was into web and was building some websites and kind of trying to make money online and reading all these how to make money blogs, and which were with like bullshit advices most of the time, but you would learn something here and there. So it was worth it when you think about it. I also started working on the summer breaks in an SEO agency here in Kosovo, because during that time, I was learning how to send traffic by optimizing those to rank higher in Google. So if you would like search for something, your website would be ranking higher and people would see it, click on it. My biggest success during that time was when I was at the 9th grade. I created this website. I know it's not completely legal, but I created this website to live stream the South Africa 2010 World Cup. So and was able to rank it for the keyword watch World Cup 2010 online at the 4th position when the World Cup started. And it basically, that term was so popular that day, it kind of, my website was offline because the server could handle all the traffic, and I made some money. And at 9th grade in Kosovo, making some money online, that was like, you didn't hear that very often. And kind of, I fell in love with everything online and everything related to web. So started learning more about SEO, started working in that SEO agency and building websites on the side while doing and going through high school. And this is kind of how I kind of got into all of this. By the end of high school, before getting started with university, I was kind of sure of what the path I was going to follow, because I had tasted the agency life, learned some stuff, but I also realized that in order for me to grow personally and professionally, that agency and basically that job that I had there wasn't going to allow me to do that. I was doing so much on my own. So I would start and work as a freelancer, getting some clients, building some websites. And basically my very first client as a freelancer is Spot On. and Fatan is the co-founder of Manaferra. So we both founded Manaferra a year later. So we worked for a year together, and realized that he had some skills that I didn't have, and I had some skills that he didn't have. And this is how Manaferra came to be. But before that, there was this like 6-7 years of me just exploring the web and all the possibilities that you could find on it, and they were amazing. And I just scratched the surface. Like, so many people did so much amazing stuff.
Yeah, that's really interesting to hear. And there's like, I mean, talking about you mentioned you're a web enthusiast, so you're probably keeping up to date with Web 3.0 that's currently being talked about, with Mark Zuckerberg as kind of spearheading that. And there's a lot as well to talk about, from, you know, finding a co-founder that I really want to delve into. But just very quickly, in terms of Web 3.0, you're a web enthusiast. How can we get, you know, something I always think about is when we're moving to the future, there's a lot of opportunity for people to kind of get their foot in the door. How can people from Kosovo, from Albania, North Macedonia, with the rampant increase of discussion around Web 3.0, how could we get involved with that? What could we do? What could a little Granit, you know, right now do to get involved with Web 3.0? What, you know, as a web enthusiast yourself, what advice would you give, or where would you tell them to start looking?
Just get started. Don't wait to have a plan or to define a plan. Just get started, fail, and try new stuff, but make sure that you're learning new stuff all the time, even if you fails, even if it doesn't work. Because when I think back, when I started, it's not like I had this breakout success or something big that happened to me. I remember those times, and I'm nostalgic about those times, but it's not like something big happened. But I learned a lot, and things are going to move so fast, so you have to really commit to it, and you have to learn, and you have to read, and you have to experiment, but you have to not fall for a trap of just learning and discussing, but start actually doing something. Web 3.0 is something very new to me as well. And it's not like I have been keeping up with it myself, because another thing that you learn while you're maturing is that there are definitely benefits to being one of the first in doing something, but then there is also so much things that are unknown, and if it's going to work. Like Web 3.0 is going to work, but what exactly is going to work, and like, where do you position yourselves? So in my case, I've learned that I'm one of those types that I would rather like wait a bit and see where the trends are heading, and then decide where I want to focus my time, because there is so much opportunity for everyone to do amazing stuff and achieve great things. And then you just have to keep yourself updated. You just have to start learning, doing stuff, and also focus on what you want to do. Because if you're jumping from one thing to another without sounding like doing one thing properly well, it's going to be tricky for you to do something meaningful.
Mm-hmm. And do you think that that's like, you know, yourself, you know, you've been doing this for like a long time, and kind of talking more holistically, do you feel that that's some of the mistakes you see a lot of young entrepreneurs make, is where they kind of just test it out very quickly, they don't give it enough time to let it marinate, to digest, and then kind of make the next step? They kind of want to look for success very quickly, and if it doesn't happen, they kind of give up. Is that something you see a lot? It's something I see quite a lot with a lot of young people starting like their entrepreneurial journey.
Definitely.
Is that something you see in Kosovo, because that is where you're based?
I agree. I mean, I agree with you. People are enthusiasts and they get started, but they don't have the patience, and they don't have sometimes they don't even have the will to put the work that is needed to do something properly and achieve something. And the main mistake I've seen is like they jump from one thing to another, and they lack focus. Like this is like the biggest mistake that I see people doing, like lacking focus. Like, do your research, decide on what do you think, and then go and execute that. If you're just jumping and scratching the surface from here to there, it's going to be tricky for you to actually see the end result and benefit from the end result itself. Again, Web 3.0 is very exciting. There is a lot of that is unknown and how the trends are going, but basically keep yourself updated, but define what you want to do, learn and execute.
Mm-hmm. Very, very, very good sound advice to give out to people. And just still on topic of Web 3.0, what are you most excited from I guess a bystander point of view? Where do you see the possibilities? Because it is, I think now, because it's still new, it's the time where we can discuss the possibilities, and those who want those possibilities to happen can kind of enact it. But where do you see, like, we hear like virtual reality being a much bigger thing, online marketplaces being huge, and we've seen that transition from eBay all the way now to cryptos, to the NFTs space. But what excites you more about this new upgrade to Web 3.0? Maybe from a more business standpoint, what is it that you think businesses could look out for?
To be honest, it's not like I have an answer myself yet. I could say that there are some certain things that excites me, but on the other hand, it's not like I've done the homework to make sure that like these kind of things are the things that I should be following up closely. So if I say something, it's not like I'm going to be 100% behind that. So for that reason, I'm not sure. I'm not sure, man.
Yeah, fair enough. Someone might listen to this and they might clip it and then come back to you and be like, "Hey, you said this. Why were you wrong?" So yeah, completely understandable. But kind of just, I guess, going back to the previous topic, we were talking about how when you started Manaferra, you actually went with a co-founder, which brings up quite like a good question that loads of people, when they do start that entrepreneurial journey, they want to start with their friends. But as you know, because it's something we briefly discussed ages ago, choosing a co-founder is essentially like choosing your wife, because they will be with you day in, day out. So I kind of wanted to understand your process, or your understanding now, because obviously you can better reflect, but into what you think makes a good co-founder and what are things to look for. I know you mentioned something about you want to find someone that complements
Exactly
your style. So are you able to just jump into that and explain to people how you can't just choose a random co-founder? It has to be, there has to be a gel between the two.
Definitely. I mean, having someone who complements your skills is like, I think, one of the most important ingredients when you're selecting co-founder, because running a company, even if you are two co-founders, is going to be very hard. And if you're on your own, it's going to be super hard. So you want someone who's going to take stuff out of your plate, and you are going to take stuff out of their plate. If you're both great at the same things, then there are going to be other things that the business needs, and you are not going to be able to do them properly, and this is going to cause issues. So having someone who can do those things, like, be that, like, if you're not good at, let's say, leadership, fine, but you're really good at kind of, you have a vision and you're really good at doing the work to make sure that that vision happens, then basically find someone who can do the other stuff. In agency, you want someone who is going to be really good at delivering, and you want someone who's going to be really good at sales, because you have to increase your client list. And you want also someone who's going to be really good with people, because on service-based agencies or companies, people are the biggest and most important asset, because those are going to be the ones who are going to do the work. And you want someone who can inspire a team, who can manage a team, who can grow a team. And if you don't do that, if you don't have that, then it's going to be very hard for you to kind of achieve the growth that you intend or have in mind. So someone who complements your skills, and then you can kind of define who does that, what, that would be very, very good. And you can argue that later in time you can hire people who are going to do the stuff that you're not good. But if you're just getting started, then hiring should and could be an issue because you're just getting started and you don't have the finances in most cases. But even if you have finances and you hire, how do you know that he's the right person, he or she is the right person for the job and has the same drive and incentives as you to push later in stage? Like, you can afford to make sure that you're qualifying the people who are going, but if you're just getting started, most likely you won't be able to do that. So this is very important. And you also have someone who shares the vision and mission with you, like someone who basically is, when you're thinking about where you want to go in 3 years, in 5 years, in 10 years, they share the same vision, and you work into improving that and expanding that as you grow and as you mature as a company. That is another very important thing that you have to keep in mind. And this is why, if you're just getting started and you start your company with a friend, it couldn't work, because with friends it's all good, but like, businesses are going to have ups and downs, and you won't be able to hold each other accountable if you're friends. So if you want to grow a business, you have to keep each other accountable, and you have to keep each other and to inspire and motivate each other and help each other to achieve what you set out in the beginning.
I mean, I completely agree. I think, yeah, the stuff you mentioned, which is the same drive, ambition needs to be the same. You hear a lot of the time where they'll start as friends, and then one friend always does a lot of work, the other doesn't. And because you're friends, you don't say anything to them. And then it becomes a big elephant in the room. And we both know if you don't address the elephant in the room sooner, it becomes the massive weight.
It's a receipt to destroy a business and to destroy a friendship.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's something like a lot of, you see it more among young people because, again, when you are not, I'm sure you can agree with this, when you have probably not been in the workplace environment and you're just studying because that's all you know, you assume like, okay, I can just do this with friends, where when you've worked a little bit, you understand that, you know, you need not only intelligence, but emotional intelligence and so many other things, so many other factors. And you're not going to be, you and your friends are not going to be able to get everything. And by being able to I guess, draw the line in the sand early as possible helps, because then there is no expectations, you know what the rules are. But the other thing that I really like that you mentioned that I think is really good for people to understand is you need to find someone that complements your skills or fits into something that you do not have. Because you're right, if you have two salespeople who are good, then, I mean, unless if you are doing another division to go into another market, then yeah, that can work. But, you know, for a startup, you don't need to. You might want to look into like a tech guy, a developer, because, you know, you can't spend that. So I completely agree. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, you have people who are visionaries and can motivate and are super at marketing, but just don't have the developing skills. And you have so many great ideas that fail because there's a single co-founder who is great at coming up with the idea and having the vision and marketing and sales, but like then it can't deliver because it doesn't have the tech background, and it's missing a co-founder who has that background. Or you have founders who are great at developing coding, but they suck at marketing and sales, and it's normal because no one is going to be amazing at all those stuff. So for that reason, I mean, a piece of advice would be, if you're just getting started and planning to start a business, try to get at least 1 or 2 co-founders with you in the journey. You'll learn a lot. You'll learn to delegate. You'll learn to assign. You'll learn to basically hold each other accountable, and you'll have a better time and higher chance of success, because even as it is, it's very hard for a startup to succeed. Most of them will fail. But having a co-founder at least improves your chances for a bit.
Yeah, completely. And I think the other thing as well to jump into is with yourselves, with a service-based business, I always say with service-based business, the talent is not necessarily in the tech, it's the people, the team, because they're the ones that win over clients. They're the ones that do everything. So you also need to, like with what you're saying, is like you need to make sure you have these people that see the same vision, that are just as hungry, and they want to develop a good work culture in there as well. And talking about work culture, because now you've been doing this for like 8 years, running it as a co-founder. How did you, as you can imagine, the first year of your work culture, I'm guessing there's probably a little bit of the, bite more than you can chew, do everything possible. But how did you see the culture develop over the 8 years? And how did you keep it, I guess, functional to the point where it keeps people, people that join like motivated, and they see that, okay, I'm not only doing this for this, I'm doing it to get to X, Y, Z, because that's also important, keeping your team motivated. And it's something as founders, people forget about. If you don't have a good team, you ain't going nowhere, buddy.
Yes.
You're being stuck.
Definitely.
So how do you motivate your team? Because how many people are in Manaferra as a whole? How many people?
Right now, we are over 25 people.
Yeah.
And very likely we'll cross 30 by the end of this year.
Amazing.
Aiming to double next year. But it hasn't been like this. And we are still, like, by agency standards, we would be considered small, but we're growing, and we're growing at a fast pace. Going back to your culture question, it's a great question, actually. So as you mentioned, Manaferra has evolved and changed a lot since it started. We started in August 2014, and for the first 4 years, we were mainly working with the local clients, meaning clients and businesses from Kosovo. And you can imagine Kosovo is 1.7, 1.8 million people, so very small country. And that also means that you don't have a lot of businesses that you could offer services and help them with what you offer. Initially started as a digital marketing agency, so we were doing SEO, social media, content marketing, email marketing, basically everything. And we were doing those because the needs of the market were quite simple. They weren't looking for sophisticated solutions because you didn't have a big audience, or even if you wanted to offer a sophisticated solution, clients weren't into it, didn't have the budget to invest on it. So basically they just were trying different channels. So the first 4 years we were digital marketing agencies serving clients in Kosovo, and we learned a lot. And the most important thing that I think makes it worth it is because when you're starting in Kosovo, from day one, you kind of starting, okay, what's next after Kosovo? Because Kosovo is a small market, and if you are ambitious and want to grow, you are going to hit your limits very quickly here. The second thing is that we realized that we won't be able to grow. Like, we were learning all this stuff while serving the Kosovo market, and that prepared us when we started offering our services abroad. That prepared us very well. We improved and learned a lot in the process. Basically, this is Manaferra 1.0, and Manaferra 2.0, which is the one that it is today, actually started end of 2017, early 2018, when we don't just dish the local market entirely, fired all our clients here, and also killed all the services that we were offering. Initially left web development for another year, and then we killed that as well, and only offered search marketing services, and there we are focused mostly on SEO. So we do a bit of Google Ads advertising, content marketing and link building are closely related, and all the work, we have departments for those two services, but those are closely related to the SEO work that we do with clients. And we learned that you have to focus, and every time we dished, like when we did the local market and when we removed the development service, like we would double in team, we would double as an agency with revenues, and we would grow. So that allowed us to go in the last 3 years from an average of 6 to 8 people for the past 6 to 7 years to 25 people, more than 25 people that we are right now, and the ambitions that we have now since we took all those learnings and made some drastic changes in the process.
And so you, I mean, from you explaining all of that, it's, you know, the shift in focus caused a shift in essentially culture, because you needed a new approach, you needed, you know, that different angle, and so you have to shift everyone, because essentially, you know, as the two, because it's not just you, there's your co-founder as well, you guys are essentially the captain of the ship, and you need to direct the way you guys go, and that's very true, and I think that's something
in terms of culture, we initially set out to see, like, because you have all these things to do and you kind of tend to neglect some things that you know are important, but I'm going to push it for another month, another quarter, etc. So initially, like, we left because we were small in size. We left the culture to evolve on its own. Now we have the culture defined, the TED values that we have published in our website as well. When we talk about transparency, empathy, eagerness to learn, etc., these are very important values that we took some time and we really kind of did a deep dive into, like, what are the values that we want to push, because we needed to define those things if we were going to grow from 6 to 8 people to 60 to 80 people that are our ambitions, and even more. So we needed to define those things, and because then those would kind of allow us to know what kind of people we want in our agency. And then when we have those people, then we knew that we can work with them, have fun, do amazing stuff, and help our clients grow. So initially we ignored it, and we kind of had the luxury to ignore it because we were very small, and basically the culture was us. 6 to 8 people is negligible as a number. But when you're going past 20, 30, 40 people, you will need to have defined values, and you will need to invest more into culture. And that is what we do all the time, because we want to make sure that we have the right people at the right positions, so we can execute our mission, which is to become the best search marketing agency in Southeastern Europe, delivering services for the US and European markets. So that is the goal, that is the mission. And we want to make sure that we have the right values defined, and we have the people who have those values and keep doing the great work that we aspire to do for our clients.
Yeah, and you know, completely well put, because I think, like I mentioned before, in a service-based business, you know, the clients, that representation of culture also feeds off to the client, and they decide, oh, well, we like their culture, it fits with us.
Yes.
So do you find that with that, do you ever find yourself looking to work with clients who fit with your culture as well? Do you ever do that, or are you more like just go after any clients?
Ideally, we would be making sure that every client that we have fits very well with our values. Of course, we are not going to work with clients that go way off of our values, but then we are also still small. That is the reality. I mean, we can say that we kind of are going to classify and not work with this and that if they just have these small issues, but that's not going to be true. We want, on the other end, I think clients select us and we select the client at the same time. And because we have those values defined, and we are very like strict into keeping those values put and not compromising those at any point. The clients kind of adjust or basically love us for that reason. Like one thing, transparency, and it's not just about transparency. In our case, it's not just about transparency inside the agency, which exists, but it's also about transparency on the work that we do for clients, because in our industry, SEO, it's something that most of the clients don't really understand how it works, and all the work that is done on the background, and how Google works, and like basically, and there is a lot of people who kind of scam companies and businesses and sell them services and promises and then don't deliver on those. And transparency in our case means that they are going to see every single thing that we work on at all the time and have access to all the work, and everything that we do is owned by them, like all this kind of stuff. That because you hear crazy things that work done for the client, after they start working with you, they kind of don't pass that work, or like they created accounts and store important information for the client, but then they don't pass that information. Crazy stories. So like this is just one thing that is a value of ours, and that clients value a lot. So yeah, we look into that. We try to find clients who are in for the long term, who believe in what we are kind of presenting them and what we are trying to achieve for their business. But it's not like in some cases they, like for example, in some cases they want to keep something kind of isolated, and they are not into transparency that much. So it's not like we can, okay guys, you're not transparent enough for us to work with you. Yeah. We're not there. And yeah, you're not there.
Got it. Makes no, completely understand. Small business, you need to, as you know, you need to keep the lights on, and it's something
we need to grow, and we have to make sure that the team feels excited, not just comfortable, excited to work with the projects and clients and brands that they work on, because only when we do that, we are going to be able to do work that wins awards. And we've done that, and we aspire to continue doing that. Our work has been awarded as like, we were shortlisted as the best small SEO agency in Europe and on global level as well. And our work has been awarded as the best SEO campaign in higher education. We work with a lot of higher education institutions in Europe and the US. So we have to make sure that we're doing this right.
That's, first of all, that's great that you guys have been shortlisted. Working myself from the media landscape, I know it's no small feat to get shortlisted. It takes a lot of work, so congratulations on that. But one thing I wanted to kind of jump into is, and something you mentioned, you know, obviously everything's based in Kosovo, but now you guys are expanding, and I think that's, first of all, that's great, because to a lot of people, diaspora, it's good to hear those sort of stories, that there's these successful businesses, they're going strong, they're doing it like the right way, and they're expanding. Something I think we briefly talked about ages ago was expansion into other European markets. And I just wanted to get, I guess, from a service-based business, and a co-founder, what are some of the difficulties, or what are some of the stuff that, turned out to be very easy when expanding to other markets? Was it cultural? Was it, business as usual? Or how was that effect when you decided to expand? And what made you want to go after those specific regions?
The vast majority of our clients are based in the United States. Culture-wise, it hasn't been an issue, because we grew up consuming all kinds of entertainment and content that kind of the source was from the US. So basically, it is natural for us to work with clients, and we are well kind of versed with how things work there. The in terms of delivery, especially the pandemic has been a big shift overall, but in our case, like it's been a positive shift because it has opened eyes to not just people and employees working remotely, but also companies and big brands considering, since if they're going to hire remote people, they can also now rehire and work with remote agencies. And we've always positioned ourselves as a high quality, affordable pricing agency, not cheap pricing. We are quite more expensive than agencies, let's say from India or from Philippines, etc. But we are also not charging as much as the US agencies. We are at the same level as UK agencies when they charge, because surprisingly, UK is very kind of, for the industry, the digital marketing industry, when you see at the rates that employees are getting paid and how much the agencies charge the clients, it's like at least half of what an agency would charge in the US. So in that case, this is where kind of we are positioned pricing wise, very similar to UK companies, but we are mostly working with the US because there we are a very more like affordable option, but we have case studies and we have history of delivering great results and growth for the brands and businesses that we work with. So for that reason, US has been our main target. Switzerland is another one where we are going after higher education vertical. In terms of delivering the work, it hasn't been an issue because people are way more flexible nowadays than before. The biggest issue that we've had, and we are kind of solving that because we registered our business in the US and plan to open a small office in DC, but pandemic ruined that, and not sure if we are going to go back to the office thing, but definitely have a physical presence there in terms of people working for Manaferra based in the US. Because the issue that we have is sales. We need that. We need companies to give us the shot, and once they kind of dedicate some time to hear what we have to say, we kill it. We have the results. We are eager to learn about their business and come up with customized strategies that are going to work for their business and not template stuff that most of all the agencies deliver there. So that has been the issue, and we are working to sort that out. Time difference hasn't been an issue. It's very funny because a lot of like the biggest work in my day starts after 3 p.m. because that's where I start having the calls with clients, and it can go up to 6, 7, 8 p.m. And it's good because it allows me the opportunity to do some deep work before that in the morning, and then deal with the client calls later in the day. And it's the same for the team as well. We kind of set up the schedules like this. And yeah, I mean, challenges like just getting in front of potential clients. But on the other hand, it is better, and we have some competitive advantages being based in Kosovo. Another challenge that doesn't have to do with international expansion but it is a challenge overall of being in Kosovo is resources, people. You don't have those in Kosovo. This is like a big issue overall, and we've been dealing with that the past few years, doing a lot of training internally, doing a lot of training through different organizations to kind of build capacity for the industry, paid internship programs, and they've worked, but it's a lot of work to do that. And you don't have this issue, for example, in the UK or US, where you have way more people into these industries that you can go and hire.
Yeah. No, that's a very, very good point, and it's true. I think something when we talk about the startup ecosystem, and when we talked about, you know, web 3.0, is why is, you know, something I think everyone can agree with is there is talent back home. We've interviewed like loads of people, and we see the talent that there is back home. It's just that it's not being pushed enough, or they don't know about it enough, where it's like, hey, you do realize that you can make money online by doing XYZ. Because competitiveness breeds good products. And even if Manaferra had a competitor in Kosovo, at least that way, you know, okay, cool, we know that there's good talent out there, we know that we can pick them up, but that works. And I think that is something that, you know, obviously we do not have the answer for, but it's something that we do need to look into, not just like individually, but as a whole, collectively. How do we get people involved in these startups, in these agencies, where we can make an imprint? You know, like you said, Manaferra is doing a lot of great work in the US. How do we then promote that success so then people know, like, hey, look, you can do the same, you can push that out there, you can, you know, you can do this. And I think it comes back down to, you know, from myself talking from an ALSA standpoint, it comes back down to getting people together and having people have these discussions. Once those discussions are had, we then take actions, and we then take the next steps. But from your end, you mentioned some really good actions that you've been taking, which I admire, which is, you know, you're doing paid internships, which I think there needs to be a lot more of. And yes, you're right, compared to the UK, there's loads of paid internships where you can do 3 months, 6 months, getting paid to do something you love, to do something, to get an idea, a feel of it, and then you decide if you want to go into it. And I think that's great. But now it's just like, how do we get more organizations, more companies to do that sort of stuff, to provide careers essentially for young talent. And those young talents could then foster new businesses, which those new businesses will then, you know, it becomes a whole business cycle in itself. So I think you're right in like that I could see how that could be an issue, but I like the way you're approaching that, but providing internships. And is that something you still do now? Is those internships you still do now?
Yes. We are currently we actually have some positions opened, and we plan to open new positions. And while we're hiring and looking for specialists and senior people all the time, we are also looking for people who are eager to learn and want to explore this field, to join us and learn with us and work with us. And I think, yeah, there is interest. Whenever we do this paid internship programs, we have close to 100 people apply for, let's say, 4 or 5 positions that we have, and super talented people, young people. The issue that has been, and why we haven't kind of improved this more to this point, has been that there used to be a lack. Basically, the mindset was the issue, where people were more concerned and motivated to go out and get a degree, and hopefully they will find a job. Like they would kind of plan and everything about until they get a degree, but after the degree, I don't know, hopefully I find a job, but like not a very concrete plan on what's going to happen. So that's changing now. People are learning that the degrees, especially from the Kosovo's education system, which sucks, I hate it and I have strong feelings about it, is not going to help you in your career, and is not going to help you basically become a professional. And that's changing, and for that reason, more companies are offering different training. Like you have training centers and you have paid internship programs, and the new government is also issuing scholarships, etc. And all these are all good things, but these things take time. And in the cases of agencies like Manaferra, we don't have the time. So apart from all what's happening with the industry, we are also taking some things into our own hands, and other agencies and companies are doing the same, because we need to train people and we need to basically grow the resources that we have so we can serve more markets and more clients globally.
Wanted to bring up one of the questions or one of the thoughts you had regarding university, in how, you know, you're not happy. And as someone who studied marketing in the UK, I actually enjoyed my degree, but I 100% agree that with some of the courses, some of the stuff, especially around business, you need to be in a practical environment to learn. And I think those internships do far more better than sitting on a desk and learning. And especially during the pandemic, where loads of people wasted, in the UK anyway, £9,000 per year being at home, right? The other thing, I think, it's crazy, right? It's crazy. The other thing that I was going to say in regards to marketing, and I'm sure is something other listeners will realize about their degree, is that a lot of the time it's outdated. With what, you know, marketing, what you do, you know about Google Analytics, programmatic, etc., all this new stuff, right? Now I'm saying this stuff to you, you understand it, but someone who's studying marketing right now, they're probably lost. They're like, what the hell is programmatic? What is this DSP, SSP stuff? These are the new way of marketing, and we're not taught it. We're taught this old print way of marketing where it's like, no, why aren't we learning this new stuff? And I completely agree. The only way to get there now is doing it yourself. But yeah, go. Yes. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
I mean, I have two thoughts on this. The first one is my personal feeling with the education system in Kosovo, like, are like, have something like some ingredients that don't necessarily match what happens across the world, like in UK and US, because it was so mismanaged in the last 20 years. And for that reason, I think that we could have been, as a country, in a much better position in terms of the resources and young people and the potential that they had if we managed this. Like, we could have been the Estonia of this part of Europe if we just did education right. Like, everything else, screw it. If we just did education right, we could have been so much better. In terms of what you're saying, I also agree with that. So that is like, this is the reason why I have issues with overall education systems. Here's the thing, like, the majority of our clients are universities. We help them get more students. So hearing that from me, you might say, like, isn't that like confusing a bit? Like, but I think, and since I've learned work with universities for so long, it's not necessarily the fault of universities as it is of the accreditation bodies, who usually move very slowly to accreditate the universities, and then they move slowly to add new modules and update the existing ones. And like, it's a chain. I think the best solution is a hybrid model. There is definitely value in how you learn stuff and how you meet new people and like the whole university life. But there, you also have to keep in mind that in this day of age, that is not going to be enough. So you have to also do some things on your own. And universities are very well prepared to help you in that kind of stuff as well. But it just needs to evolve, and it just needs to, because if everyone is doing on its own, then you don't have standardization. And sometimes standardization is good because you don't have different people doing different things in different ways, and that kind of could have more issues. So it's a, like, this could be an episode on its own, actually. If you can find someone to talk with it. I mean, I just think in terms of Kosovo, since we were talking about resources, like, I have strong feelings about how this whole thing could have been managed for like the whole private sector to be in a much better, especially like service-based private sector in Kosovo, because we are a small country. We are not going to build factories and compete with China. And we are not going to be like this outsourcing destination that can compete with the likes of Philippines and in India, because they have hundreds of millions and billions of people there, and we are like 1.7 million people, and this is, it's not growing, it's shrinking, this number. So for that reason, we have to be very smart into how we approach this whole thing. And service-based businesses could be a very, very lucrative thing for the economy of Kosovo. If we have a proper strategy, establish or kind of establish our way ourselves as not cheap labor but affordable labor that offers high quality services. And then we have all these other benefits like closer to Europe, time zone, etc., etc. All this outsourcing pitches that you hear from the government, but like it's just some things that they keep repeating, but no actions follows up.
Yeah, no, but you're right. I mean, the possibilities there are they're there. You know, like you said, you name some really good stuff. It's like talent in young people, the time zone being in the European market, affordable pricing with high quality service. And something we both mentioned earlier, which is like one of the benefits, or one of the, to me, it's a benefit to service.
The talent is growing older.
Yeah.
Like
the other thing as well is with service-based businesses is that it's, like we said, it's based on the talent, it's based on the people rather than like one specific resource, which allows, you know, for that a little bit more competitive edge when going up against other markets. Like you said, the reason you're able to compete in America is because you can deliver the right results, but because you can charge out an affordable pricing for them, it allows you to essentially win over clients, which is perfect. But I know you mentioned that the talent is growing old, which is I think something it happens. I think there's big conversations in Albania as well about, you know, not only just talent growing old, but talent leaving, which with that, you're right, that is another disadvantage with that. But yeah, I mean, we can talk about this so much, and it's probably like a massive political talk, and it'll go into like this whole other subsection. But
I mean,
yeah, go ahead.
Just to add the last few bits in our case, because I care about like our specific industry. Like if you're a service based and you're doing digital work, digital services, be that development, be that marketing or any other type of thing, nowadays you don't even have to leave. Like you can stay in Kosovo and find jobs outside of Kosovo, or go at Manaferra. Is like, and this is like an opportunity for us as an agency to grow and improve, because our goal is how can we make it that even if someone has the opportunity to work for an agency based in UK or US or Switzerland, they'll still decide to stay with us in terms of pay, in terms of like culture, in terms of like growth potential, personally, professionally, etc., etc. So this kind of challenges is making us have these discussions and ask these questions, and this is going to definitely help Manaferra improve as an agency and grow as an agency. But yeah, I agree with you. It could kind of expand in all these different areas of discussion. So
yeah, this, although you got me thinking,
we can skip it.
Yeah, and you got me thinking though. You mentioned something about, you know, people staying at home, and this could, for someone who's listening who has the hunger, maybe they could design a sort of a WeWork where startups are going to, you know, a sort of what do you call it? Office buildings where they work and they collaborate together. That could be a business idea. I haven't even thought it through, but so one of the listeners who's hungry. Yeah. See, there we go. Someone's already done it.
Yeah, you have Innovation Center of Kosovo who do amazing work, and they have like co-working spaces in there, and like you have all the startups that are incubated there, and you also have people who can just go and rent an office for a month or more, and you have all these collaboration opportunities. And yeah, it's growing as an ecosystem. It's growing, but then once it reaches a certain point, it almost is the same story. Like the main issue is not about ideas or like the will to work hard. It's about like resources, human resources. And that is like, as an industry, if we want to grow, we have to sort this out. And that is going to unlock so much potential for all.
Yeah, completely. I guess to kind of end things off, where can we see Manaferra? What's coming up next for you guys? What should we be on the lookout? I know you mentioned that there could be some potential job openings across Europe. So is that something, or are you going to be at any events that people could look out for you guys?
So basically, please follow us on social media. We are not as active, like we suck at promoting ourselves and promoting the great work that our team does. We are trying to improve on that, so it should get better. So follow us, and then things should get better. And also in our website, manaferra.com, you will be able to see the job openings that we have. We are also hiring for SEO specialists, content editors, content writers, outreach specialists, and new roles are coming up as well. We are open to remote working. We are considering UK as a place where we would be interested into having people join our team and work from UK. And in terms of like where we would be, no events planned actually. We are going to do some events starting 2022 because the pandemic is kind of like we are getting used with it. So we are going to have workshops, and we are going to have meetups organized at our offices and here in Pristina. But if you're in Pristina and you would like to meet, just reach out on LinkedIn, reach out on Twitter, or just send an email. We would love to host you, present you with the work that our team does, and just drink a coffee at our offices here in Pristina. So please reach out.
I'm going to take up on that offer when I come down, because I still haven't been to Kosovo. So I'll have loads of tour guides now, which is going to be great. Yeah, it's going to be
looking
great.
forward to it.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Granit, thank you so much for taking the time today, taking us through Manaferra. I mean, we'll probably have to do this again some other time, because there's still a lot more to unravel. I think we could talk on for hours and hours. So yeah, we'll definitely set up another time to catch up again, because I think people would love hearing more about to delve deeper into the startup ecosystems in both Kosovo and Albania, and maybe we can get other people on. But yeah, that is something for the future. But for now, thank you very much. I do appreciate it.
It's been great talking to you. I had a lot of fun, and you've been a great host. So thanks a lot for the invite.
No worries. All right. Thank you guys for listening. This was another episode of Tea with ALSA. Subscribe, follow, all that usual stuff, and stay tuned for future episodes coming out soon.